All right, guys, today we are using the Pythagorean Theorem to solve like story problems. Essentially, in all of these problems, there's a right triangle somewhere, and you have to find it. So we're going to do that today. Now, if you've looked at my instructional videos versus the written notes provided, you may notice that there are different examples on each one. So after looking at this, it may be helpful to look at the written notes to see what other examples there are and to see if you can make sense of those. I'm going to go ahead and do my first problem. It says a baseball player throws a ball from second place to home plate. How far does the player throw the ball? And what's nice about this problem is that it actually gives you a picture. You have a baseball diamond. And for those of you who don't know, second base is over here and home plate is over here. Now, a baseball diamond is actually really just a square turned on its side. So all of those angles of the square are right angles. There might be a right triangle somewhere in here. We're going to go from second base to home plate. So the player throws the ball like this. And hey, look, that right there makes a triangle. So the triangle we're looking at is this one right here. It's like I just took this guy and then I moved him over. We got a right angle over here. We know that it gives us that all of the sides are 90 feet of that baseball diamond. And we want to find how far the player threw the ball. So second base is over here and home plate is over here. So it's going to be this side right here. I'm going to call it X. So whenever you're solving these story problems, there's some steps that you should follow. We just did a couple of them. The first is that you should draw a picture. Always, always, always draw a picture unless they have already drawn a picture for you and that picture makes sense to you. Then the next thing we didn't just draw a triangle, we labeled the sides of that triangle. So label your picture after you've drawn it. Usually you want to have a right angle in there somewhere. You want to have a variable that you're trying to find and then some numbers that you can work with. Now I'm going to go ahead and find what X is. And this is a right triangle, so I know I can use the Pythagorean Theorem. So I'll write a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then I'm going to put my labels into that formula. My variable is across from the right angle, so that tells me it's the hypotenuse, and I should put my variable in for c. Then I can put my other sides in for a and b, making sure to keep all of those little exponents. So our third step then is to put everything in a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And you need to be careful and make sure that you know which side is the hypotenuse and you've taken good note of that. Then we're going to solve for x. So 90 squared plus 90 squared. 190 squared is 8100, and there are two of them. So 2 8100s is 16200 or 16,200, and we're keeping that x squared. Now, a lot of students are really tempted to be done at this part, but remember, there's still a little 2 above that x. So we need to undo that 2 by taking the square root on both sides. And that will give us x squared on the right. Oh, excuse me, just x on the right. And then the square root of 16,200. It gives you 127 point a lot of numbers. We're just going to round it to the nearest tenth, and it's 127.3. So after we got that 127.3, we need to actually answer the question. So that's our fifth and last step. We're going to answer the question that was asked of us. Let's go back and look at what that question said. How far does the player throw the ball? So how far is measured in feet. So we would say the player throws the ball 127.3 feet, which is interesting because you might think, oh, the sides of a baseball diamond are 90 feet, but they actually threw it much farther than that, 37.3 feet farther than that. So it is quite a long distance. That second baseman needs to have a pretty good arm. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do our number 2. On number 2, there is not a picture drawn for us. So let's first read the problem. That's kind of the step that I didn't really write. The first thing is read the problem, and it says, you walk 749 feet due east from your home. And then it says from the gym. So I'm sorry, this problem has a typo in it. It should be from your home to the gym. Then from the gym, you walk 800 feet southwest. Let's get rid of that to the library. Finally, you walk directly north from the library back home, and we want to know how far we live from the library. This problem is basically impossible to do without drawing a picture that represents it well. So I'm first going to write an H for that's my home. Actually, let's actually draw ourselves a little house. Here's my little house. And I'm going to go to the gym, and it says due east. The nice thing is over here, I have a compass, and it tells me that east is to the right. So I'm going to draw a little arrow to the east. I went 749 feet that way and ended up at the gym. And then we're going to go southwest, which is right in between south and west. So it's going to end up this direction. And that was 800 feet. And that was the library. So here I am at the library. Let's draw a little book for you. There's the library. And then I'm going to go directly north. So north is straight up that way, home. And I want to know how far I live from the library. So this distance right here we'll call X. So there's my right triangle. And you might need a little refresher because mine doesn't actually look like a right triangle. So this line right here was east and this one was north. So that right there is our right angle. That means that 800 feet is our hypotenuse, or our C. So we drew our picture. We labeled our picture. Now let's write a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and replace all of those variables with the appropriate numbers. Our C is 800, so I'm going to put that over there. And then I'm going to put 749 in for A and X in for B. Now remember, A and B, it doesn't really matter, but C does. So it always needs to be that side across from the right angle. Then I'm going to simplify these numbers by squaring them. And my 749 squared is a giant number, 561,001, plus X squared equals 640,000. Now, next step is to solve that equation. I'm going to subtract 561,001 from both sides. And I'll get X squared on this side on the left. And then I will get 78,999 on the right. Now, you may be tempted to stop here, but remember, it doesn't really make sense in the context of this problem that you live 79,000 feet away from the library. It just doesn't really make sense. You got to take the square root of both sides. And we'll have, when we take that square root, that X equals 281 point, a lot of numbers, but when you round that to the nearest tenth, it's just 0.1. So now we need to actually answer the question. The question was, how far do you live from the library? So that 281.1 is measured in feet. So you say, I live, well, in this hypothetical scenario, I live 281.1 feet from the library. Now, there's a couple things that are really, really important as you're solving these. You need to always draw a picture that's really going to help you solve the problem. The other thing that's important to remember is that sometimes your variable will be C and sometimes it will be A or B. So you got to be careful of that. And then you also need to always, always, always remember your last step is to take the square root at the end. Thank you. Good luck and have a great time today. Bye.